Welcome and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be remembering a beautiful, precious 6-year-old girl named Faye Swetlick from Casey, South Carolina, who was abducted while playing in her own front yard on February 10th of 2020. It's been a year since her mother made a frantic 911 call to report her missing, and people from all over began searching and praying, hoping she'd be found right away. Hoping she had just wandered off somewhere in her neighborhood, hoping she'd find her way home. But she never did. What no one knew was that she was lured from her front yard and murdered by her neighbor, who kept her body hidden right under everyone's noses as police and the community frantically searched for her for 3 days. I'll never forget the fear I felt when I heard she went missing. I had just covered the story of Gannon Stauch's disappearance 2 weeks before, and police were still searching for him in Colorado. Now, a second child was missing, only this one from South Carolina. 2 children vanished without a trace. I can't help but feel so disgusted that just 1 year later, we are right back in the very same boat. Now, 2 more children have vanished without a trace. Orrin and Orson West, or Sincere and Classic, from California. We didn't get the outcomes we wanted for Gannon Stauch or Faye Swetlick. They were taken from our lives forever. So, we are owed 2 good outcomes. 2 children found safe. It's only fair. Now, I'm holding out hope for Orrin and Orson. We need that. We need them to be found safe. We need a reason to restore our faith in humanity. 'Cause after this story, you're not going to have much left. I want to dedicate this video to the memory of Faye Swetlick, who was taken from us too soon and will be forever missed, even by those of us who never had the privilege of knowing her. This is her story. When Faye Swetlick's mother picked her up from the school bus, walked her home, and left her playing on their front porch, she had no idea that was the last time she would ever see her precious little 6-year-old girl. I need to quote a line from a news report I read next, because I can't say it any better. It was the late afternoon of February 10th of 2020, when the bubbly redhead with a penchant for rainbows and fairy princesses went missing while playing in her front yard. According to police reports, it was around 3:45 p.m. when her mother said she noticed Faye was no longer in the yard. So, she started searching the neighborhood and calling neighbors and friends. By 5 p.m., she was placing a frantic 911 call to report that Faye was missing. According to the timeline from the case, police were on the scene within minutes, interviewing Faye's mother, searching the neighborhood, and going door to door to speak with neighbors. After 30 minutes of searching, but no Faye, local police called in help from law enforcement in surrounding cities to expand the search. After an hour of searching, and still no Faye, the FBI was called in. By 7 p.m., police said there were over 90 officers and firefighters searching for Faye, using multiple canines from various agencies, and a helicopter was in the air, aiding in the search. They weren't playing. This type of action is what I would have liked to have seen in Cal City on the evening Orrin and Orson West were reported missing. In addition to the massive police presence already in the area looking for Faye, a bolo was issued to all other law enforcement agencies across the region, and Faye's picture and description was posted to social media and shared with news outlets. The city hall was turned into a command center, a 24-hour surveillance team was put in place, and her entire neighborhood was shut down, with no cars coming or going without being looked at. The operation was referred to by the city's public safety director as one of the largest operations of its kind in the history of South Carolina, with over 300 local, state, and federal law enforcement officers combing the neighborhood's 280 homes, along with pools, creeks, sheds, manholes, playgrounds, and woods over a 65-hour period. I wish this was the standard response for missing children all over the U.S. On February 11th, police went door to door in the neighborhood in an attempt to speak with every resident in the neighborhood. They were given a specific list of questions to ask from the FBI in order to obtain information they needed. They also asked for permission to search each and every home in the neighborhood, and grid searches were conducted throughout the day. Police searched around the clock, but after 24 hours, still no Faye. On February 12th, day 3 of their search, police continued to search homes and interview neighbors. On this day, they interviewed 30-year-old Cody Taylor, who lived in a home not far from Faye's, who would end up being the police's only suspect in Faye's murder. But when police spoke with him that day, they say he was cooperative. He answered their questions, and he consented to a search of his home. At that time, police said they didn't find anything during the search that led them to believe he was involved in Faye's disappearance. So they moved on. Police stayed on the search, and as the day produced no results, they called in the help of another police agency in case the search went into the next day. Day 4. Trash Day. Thursday, February 13th was Trash Pickup Day in Faye's neighborhood, and police used it to their advantage. Brilliant, if you ask me. They coordinated officers from multiple agencies to follow the garbage trucks as they went through the neighborhood, collecting all the trash the homes put out. The officers were looking through each home's garbage after it was loaded into the truck for clues and traces of Faye. And believe it or not, they found it. While going through the garbage of one of the neighborhood homes, police found a polka dot boot that matched the description of the boots Faye was wearing when she disappeared, along with a kitchen ladle filled with dirt. It was the break the police were looking for. And it was found in the garbage from 602 Piccadilly Square. Cody Taylor's house. After finding this vital evidence, the chief of police began organizing another grid search when he said he followed a gut feeling he got to check a wooded area near Faye's home. He said even though he knew the wooded area had been checked before, he had a gut feeling to check it again. And thank God he did, because that was where he found little Faye's body in a shallow grave. Shortly after she was found, police in the neighborhood received reports of a bleeding man at the address where the evidence was discovered. 602 Piccadilly Square. When they responded to the scene, they found a deceased male bleeding out on the back porch of the home. The deceased man was identified as Cody Taylor. DNA samples were taken from both Taylor's home and the area where Faye's little body was found, and police say they were able to link the two. They named Cody Taylor as their sole suspect in Faye's abduction and murder, and they believe he moved her body to the wooded area under the cover of darkness the night before she was found. Autopsies were conducted on both Faye and Taylor, and it was determined that Faye had been suffocated and Taylor took his own life. During a press conference, police announced that it was determined that little Faye was murdered on the day she was abducted. Thousands of people all around the world mourned Faye's death. One news article read that thousands of people wrote heartfelt Facebook posts honoring the bubbly 6-year-old with bright blue eyes and strawberry blonde hair. Her first-grade teacher wrote, "No teacher is ever prepared for that empty spot in the room." She said, "I will miss your morning hugs, your bright-eyed smile, you skipping down the hall ready for anything and everything. The excitement you had when I told you to kiss your brain, your curiosity, your kindness, your stories, but most of all, your ability to love unconditionally. Another article stated that her favorite colors were pink and purple. In an article posted on February 8th of 2021 in the Post and Courier Columbia, titled 6-Year-Old Faye Swetlick's Killing Haunts South Carolina Community 1 year later, the chief of police who found Faye shows a pencil drawing of a beaming Faye that hangs in his office even today. A fulfillment of his promise to the family to never forget her. Jen Spears, who lived just a half a mile away from Faye, said that it's still fresh in the minds of those who lived in her neighborhood. She described it as a heaviness that you can feel when you drive into the neighborhood ever since Faye has been gone. She claims she knew Faye and her mother, and they bonded over their love of dogs. She also said she considered Cody Taylor to be a good friend. She said she knew him well, and she knew his heart, and she doubts his involvement in Faye's murder. She said she thinks police need to look deeper. I have to say, I disagree. I could be wrong, but police never named Taylor as a suspect in Faye's murder until after his death. They didn't have time to. Shortly after they found her boot and the soup ladle filled with dirt in his trash, the sheriff found her body. Then shortly after that, they were called to Taylor's home because he slit his own throat. Police said it all happened very quickly. There was no time to name Taylor as their suspect, or to even go arrest him at his home. But they didn't need to. Taylor knew that his time was running out. He was holding Faye's body somewhere, and with police all over the area, it wouldn't be long before they'd find her. He was watching everything that was going on. The searches, the questioning. He knew they'd keep coming back until they found her. So, he took a chance and moved her to the area where she was found. Then, he waited. And maybe he thought he'd get away with it. But I doubt he thought they'd follow the garbage truck through the neighborhood to go through everyone's garbage. I bet he never saw that coming. At that point, he knew they'd find her boot in his garbage. He knew he was done for. He made himself a suspect. Then, after Faye was found, he slit his own throat. I'm not sure police need to look much deeper. When the suspect they were looking for made himself known, and ultimately sentenced himself to death. I pray that God blesses little Faye and her family, and gives her loved ones the strength they need to get through as they remember her. Rest in peace, Faye Marie Swetlick. You will never be forgotten. Thank you all so very much for watching. I appreciate your interest in Faye's case, and I'll see you on my next video.